Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of First and 15 Fantasy Football Podcast. I want to thank you for tuning in as we get into the injury outlook for your Tennessee Titans. We're going to be covering the last division in the AFC South. But before we do that, make sure that you give us a like, comment, share, subscribe as we continue to provide you with the best analysis for your upcoming season and draft. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. Training camp is upon us. The season is about to start. And now some of these key players are going to start kind of looking and clarifying their wide receiver or running back positions and even in their ranking orders. We're going to see some of these key quarterback positions trying to play out and trying to ultimately see if they're going to lead to some fantasy productions. Hello everyone, I'm Carlos, and we're going to be doing this. We're going to be getting into the AFC South. We're going to be talking specifically about the Tennessee Titans. We're going to be looking at their injuries from last year, seeing if ultimately they're going to be carrying over this year, having an overall great season. And then we'll ultimately see if their key fantasy production is going to change, obviously with some key acquisitions happening over the offseason. And we're going to see if those key acquisitions in the offseason are going to how they're going to play off as now as training camp is going to unfold and as preseason is upon us. But the Tennessee Titans were able to finish off last season with a 12-5 record. They did finish overall last season 12th overall in passing, 12th overall in rushing. That's pretty incredible considering that Derrick Henry did miss about half the season. They're going to be losing A.J. Brown, and then they're going to be getting the likes of Robert Woods from the Rams, status post ACL surgery, and then also a wide receiver rookie by the name of Treylon Burks. Again, a new wide receiver core. Hopefully now that Derrick Henry is going to stay healthy the entire season, is definitely going to change the outlook of this Tennessee Titans team. But before we do that, let's get into Ryan Tannehill and his production from last year. Ryan Tannehill last year was able to stay relatively healthy. He did not miss any games, so that's ultimately great on his part. He did add 357 completions at 3,734 yards, adding another 55 rush attempts at 270 yards. And so there's your dualistic quarterback threat. More specifically in your best ball superflex leagues and your superflex leagues. In your redraft leagues right now, he's going about 21st overall quarterback. And your best ball superflex leagues and your superflex leagues, he's going anywhere between your 5th and your 6th round. And so we're going to see if ultimately, Ryan Tannehill can continue on with this offensive production. He is, losing A.J. Brown, didn't have any, true fantasy relevancy with, Julio Jones last year, but losing A.J. Brown is going to be huge. We're going to see if it's ultimately filled with the likes of Robert Woods and now Treylon Burks coming into play. But we're going to continue to see how the ball is spread around now that Ryan Tannehill has a new arsenal come about on his team. Tannehill won't be the only one that they're going to be looking for offensive production. Derrick Henry is going to be the other one they're going to be looking to lead this offensive team. Derrick Henry, as you recall, did miss half the season last year. He did suffer a 5th metatarsal fracture. We did look at it last year, and we did anticipate that he would miss, that amount many games. But with that offensive production from last year, as you recall, during those few weeks that he was healthy, he was running rampant in the fantasy production. He did add 219 rush attempts at 937 yards, with 18 receptions at 154 yards. Right now in your redraft leagues, he's going anywhere between your 3rd and your 5th overall running back. And some of your best ball leagues, he's going anywhere between your 7th and your 12th pick overall in your 1st round. And so some folks might be hesitant to be picking him this year due to the fact that he did suffer a 5th metatarsal fracture last year. But there's nothing to say that, he's, having any previous history of fractures, occurring in his body. And so there's nothing to say that he's going to have another fracture or another significant injury this coming season. You would hope that, the team would be wise enough to manage his load and to manage the amount of carries that he's taken, the amount of hits that he's taken throughout the season, to ensure that he doesn't suffer another significant injury. Because when he was healthy, he was ultimately dominant, amongst everybody that was, facing him in every single team. And you saw it in the fantasy production. So again, we're going to see if Derrick Henry is going to continue to remain healthy. He was producing a lot of, intense workouts throughout the offseason, and, has become a lot wiser in his load management from the experience from last year. So again, I anticipate that Derrick Henry is going to have another fantastic season. We are hoping that he does not, suffer another significant injury, and then lives up to this, this running back ranking of being, your third, best running back overall, if not second to first. So again, looking at, Derrick Henry continues on with his fantasy production. Some other key notable running back for the Tennessee Titans were Deontay Foreman, Adrian Peterson, and Jerry McNichols. As you recall from last year, Jerry McNichols, Devontae Foreman, and, A.J. Peterson all tried to pick up the slack, when, Derrick Henry went down. You even saw, Dontrell Hillard come on into the fantasy production line as well. Jerry McNichols this year, he's on the practice squad. Adrian Peterson is now a free agent. Deontay Foreman is now traded over to the Carolina Panthers, so he's going to be backing up Christian McCaffrey. But with Derrick Henry coming back healthy, they're going to be adding rookie running back Hassan Haskins. We're going to see if ultimately with Dontrell Hillard as well, if ultimately they're going to continue to have that running back depth, considering that Henry did suffer a significant injury last year. And so we're going to see if this running back core can continue to remain healthy and lead this Tennessee Titans to another either top 12 to top 10 rushing attack for this coming season. But that's going to be doing it for your running backs of your Tennessee Titans. What like to do is now transition over to the wide receivers for your Tennessee Titans. As you recall now, they traded over, A.J. Brown to the Philadelphia Eagles, but they did receive, Robert Woods from the Los Angeles Rams. Robert Woods, from last year did suffer an ACL tear. He did tear that ACL in November of last year of 2021. Expected return to play, for an isolated ACL tear can be anywhere between 9 to 12 months, depending on, the sport itself and how intense that sport is going to be. Everything is unique, and the rehabilitation process is always unique to the person themselves. Sometimes others, heal a lot quicker, stronger, than others. And so some may be a little bit more delayed depending on their genetic code and how well they make up and how well and how fast and efficient they can rehabilitate. Everybody is unique. And so there's always a timeline between 9 and 12 months. With Robert Woods, considering that he did suffer his ACL tear in November of 2021, I'm going to anticipate that they ramp up his activity during the month of August. And so, in August, they continue to ramp him up even more so and determine whether he's going to be ready for, September. It could very well, starting off on the PUP list, and then, systematic progressive increase his repetition and his volume and his intensity as his body continues to cooperate. But anticipate that, very well, much so. And so if he does, start off on the PUP list, then you have someone like Treylon Burks, who is your rookie wide receiver, who's may make an impact immediately on this team. But, last year when, Robert Woods was healthy, he did have 45 receptions and 556 yards, adding 8 rushes at 46 yards, with 4 reception TDs. And so, when healthy, Robert Woods in Buffalo produced. When healthy with the Rams, he also produced. And so we're looking to see that, Robert Woods makes a healthy, systematic approach to this season. And you may not see, an overall breakout performance, but we're looking to see that he stays relatively healthy and does not have any setbacks this season. Robert Woods right now, he's going anywhere between 41st in redraft leagues as your wide receiver overall. And in your best ball leagues, he's going anywhere between your 10th and your 11th rounds. So again, he's going to be someone that you may stash, that may make more an improvement as the season goes on and does not have any setbacks, and may produce some more fantasy production towards the end of the season. So if you've got some depth space, then I would consider stashing Robert Woods for later on during the season itself. Robert Woods is not going to be the only wide receiver for these Tennessee Titans. If Robert Woods is not going to be able to go in, the first start of the season, then some other wide receivers are going to be able to step up. Some other wide receivers for the Tennessee Titans are going to include Nick Westbrook, Des Fitzpatrick. These individuals are all going to be, viable options and challenging for some of these key positions on this wide receiver core team. Chester Rogers is now actually a free agent. And so Nick Westbrook is going to have to step up. And Nick Westbrook is now your 89th overall wide receiver in redraft leagues. And in best ball leagues, he's going anywhere between your 24th to 25th rounds. And so considering that he's going to be more of your deeper stash leagues, in this wide receiver group. But Nick Westbrook was able to stay relatively healthy last year as well. He only missed 2 games due to some healthy scratches. He did add, 38 receptions at 476 yards and 4 reception TDs. And so we're going to see, if some of these, other wide receivers are going to step up in lieu of, Robert Woods not starting as fast as we want him to maybe perhaps start off. And then we're going to see if this wide receiver rookie is going to be able to come in, Treylon Burks, and make an immediate impact with this wide receiver core, and perhaps maybe take that wide receiver 1 position on this Tennessee Titans team. And, as the training camp, unfolds and as the season approaches, we're going to see how this, wide receiver core is going to shake up and who kind of leads to the top itself. But the last kind of, key offensive players I want to get into are your tight ends for your Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans are going to be losing Anthony Verkser. He's actually being traded over to Atlanta. And they're going to be acquiring from Cleveland Austin Hooper. Austin Hooper is now ranked 23rd overall tight end in your redraft leagues. And in some of your best ball leagues, he's going anywhere between your 12 and your 13 rounds. And so they're going to be looking for Austin Hooper to kind of lead this tight end group and ultimately see if he can, bring his, veteran experience and continue to give them some fantasy relevancy in the tight end position. Some other key acquisitions they're going to be having are going to be your rookie running back, Hassan Haskins. Hassan Haskins is going to be your 72nd ranked overall running back in redraft leagues. And in your best ball leagues, he's going anywhere between your 16th round and your 15th round. He's going to be, looking to back up, Derrick Henry in this offensive team. And we're going to see, if Hassan Haskins can continue to give him that support that we're looking for Derrick Henry. They are going to be, acquiring also rookie wide receiver Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks, there's a lot of buzz around him, specifically now that that Robert Woods may end up starting the PUP list or may not start off as fast as you want him to. Treylon Burks has now a wide open opportunity to fill in that gap. And now that with A.J. Brown gone, we're going to see if those targets are ultimately going to be leading over to Treylon Burks and then spilling over to Nick Westbrook and then some of those other key wide receivers. So again, you're going to see if these rookie running backs and wide receivers, along with some of these other key acquisitions, along with keeping up with that offensive line, is going to continue to increase this offensive fantasy production for this team. We're looking to see that Derrick Henry continues on with a healthy production, with a healthy season, and stays relatively healthy throughout the entire season, and does not occur any significant conditions. But that's going to be doing it for your Tennessee Titans. Hopefully that gives you a little bit more outlook and insight into, some of these key injuries that plagued them last year and trying to determine whether it's going to be affecting them this year. We're hoping that Derrick Henry continues to have another fantastic season. he stays, healthy throughout the entire season and does not, occur any significant conditions. And then, we'd love to hear your thoughts on, the Robert Woods and Treylon Burks situation. If Robert Woods doesn't, start off the season as fast as we want him to, is Treylon Burks going to have that opportunity to rise up in this wide receiver depth chart and lead this wide receiver core? Again, we'll continue to, look at these as, the training camp unfolds and as the season approaches. But again, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Injury Outlook, looking into your Tennessee Titans. If you haven't already, please give us a like, comment, share, subscribe. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Follow us on Twitter as we give you the live updates and analysis for your upcoming draft and season. On the next episode of Injury Outlook, we get into the Houston Texans. Make sure you give us a follow. We'll catch you next time.